Just now, I was in travel. I watched on my cell phone that Imran Khan was killed in jail. I think the news have yet to be confirmed. I think that is yet to be officially confirmed. I am not surprised. Right from the beginning of my videos, I have been telling you that Pakistan Constitution is at fault for causing such instances. We, the Indians, boast of having the largest written constitution in the world, and that India is the biggest democracy in the world. People believing it to be true, the neighboring countries have followed India, and as a result, most of them are facing political instability, political insecurity, political immorality, and the ex-prime ministers are being killed by the present prime ministers. We have got such a beautiful and the best constitution, yet we are following England procedures, and whereas all our surrounding small countries are following Indian model. Of course, Pakistan has taken Indian constitution as it is, but qualified with certain words at the end of each sentence. For example, under Indian constitution, it is said that the prime minister is appointed by the president of India under Article 75, and further said that the term of council of ministers shall be during the pleasure of the president. Verbatim they have taken into their constitution, and the Pakistanis have added suffixes such as, however, the president shall not exercise his option without ascertaining majority in the parliament. In case of removal of a government, we said the terms of office of minister shall be during the pleasure of the president, and they added that, however, the president shall not exercise his option without first conducting a no confidence motion on the floor of the parliament. Same is the case, of course, with state governments. This is a faulty system. I told you in Pakistan Constitution Article 48, the executive power of Pakistan is vested in the President of Pakistan, but he shall exercise such power on the basis of advice of the Council of Ministers, which should include the Prime Minister. Under Article 243, Pakistan President is the Supreme Commander of Pakistan Armed Forces, but he has to execute that function in accordance with the advice of the Prime Minister. In India too, under Article 53, Clause 2, President of India is the Supreme Commander of Armed Forces, which he shall execute in accordance with an act, a law made for that purpose. That means, please understand, President has to exercise his function as Supreme Commander of Armed Forces in accordance with law. Who will make the law? Again, the Parliament will make the law. The President may or may not have majority in the Parliament, and it has to be assented to by the President under Article 111. It means that the President shall execute the power of Supreme Commander of Armed Forces in accordance with law which is assented to by himself. Without his assent, there cannot be any law in India. In India too, under Article 74, there shall be Council of Ministers to aid and advise the President in exercising his functions as President. That's all. Whereas it was only in 1976 through 42nd Amendment it was added by that the President was bound by the advices of the Council of Ministers. He may return the advice for reconsideration at least for a maximum of one time. If the same advice is tendered without modifications, the President is bound to act upon it. You see the fallacy. When you said the President, namely the executive, is secretary to the majority leader who represents the legislative power of the state in the sense the country as defined under Article 12. There is no effective executive. The majority leader would become a monarch, rather a dictator. His word becomes law. There will be none to question him in the legislatures and outside the legislatures as well, because all the bureaucracy would follow the commands of the majority party leaders. In fact, they are legislative people. They are not supposed to rule. They are not meant to rule this country. They are there to execute legislative functions. Executive authority is vested with the President under Article 53. So what is happening in Pakistan too? The Prime Minister becomes a monarch, a dictator. There would be none to question him in the parliament and outside the parliament also. That is one reason for anarchy, retribution, and the other reason is that while the President of Pakistan is Supreme Commander of Armed Forces, he does not have real powers. He has to execute that function in accordance with the advice of the Prime Minister. So naturally, the army is in the hands of the Prime Minister, and so naturally, the previous or ex Prime Ministers are either being executed, imprisoned, or exiled. It is the rarest of rare, if any, Prime Minister of Pakistan has survived after losing power. In India, it is not so serious, but yet there are allegations of oppression and retribution. The state leaders who are not part of the coalition of the Prime Minister and other opposition party members in the parliament often accuse the Prime Minister of using the income tax, CBI, ED against them to destroy their image and financial condition. I don't say there is any truth in it, because after CBI investigations and ED raids and income tax raids, heaps of currency is being detected. In the present state of affairs, no politician can be honest, because with the false belief that one would become chief minister with majority in the assembly and some other will become prime minister with majority in the Lok Sabha, they are doing all sorts of irregularities to get majority. They are inciting people on narrow consideration of caste, community, creed, region, religion, language, and sex. They are accusing the other parties of committing crime and corruption, and finally distributing notes to votes, purchasing votes and getting majority. Parties are funding election expenditure to their candidates. These are the irregularities which have crept into Indian politics because of somebody becoming a ruler with majority in the legislatures. We have elected President of India very wide basis. He is elected by electoral college consisting of all the MLAs in India and members of both houses of the parliament. Having elected him on a large scale without issuing a whip, if we confine him to Rashtrapati Bhavan and if he does not involve in administering the country, it is a great injustice to this country. This is what is happening in India too. In some of the states we have seen, I do not say India has become so incorrigible. The situation has not become so bad that prime ministers kill ex-prime ministers. But social, political, economic retribution is there. In states we have seen, in West Bengal, the results were to be announced by 6 o'clock. It appears one political party was sure to get majority and form government. I atone for calling that a government. Government is should never be established by a majority leader in the assembly. Governor should always belong to the governor. Governor and minister should belong to same political party. They cannot be rivals. As they were sure of coming to power, they started attacking houses, killing people, setting houses on fire, abducting women and raping. Because they know from the very next day, police will oblige them, not anybody else. And we have seen in some other states a chief minister imprisoning ex-chief minister, a parliament member, an ex-minister, and several other political rivals. Several political rivals were imprisoned. We have seen in some other state, a chief minister has imprisoned an opposition member who may be a contender to the post of chief minister in the next elections. A national party chief of that state was imprisoned. As a result, what happens? When the other party comes to power, these people will be imprisoned. This happens more rampantly with regard to regional parties because they do not have any control over them. We are falsely claiming that India is federal country, and federal means irresponsible behavior by the states. But it is a wrong thing. India is unitary. Even if it is meant federal, federal means central. The word federal does not define the relationship between union and the states. As a result, in India too, that kind of retribution, oppression is happening, but not at the scale as is happening in Pakistan. At least by now, polity, press, judiciary, and intelligentsia of this country should ponder over how it can be democracy if executive is made subordinate to the legislative leader. There should be separation of powers. Both should be equally strong, the legislative and the executive. In India, without there being an executive, India cannot be called a democracy at all, in my opinion. Before situation becomes worse, it is time to understand the democracy and the constitution and make reforms. Thank you. Thank you for watching my videos. I promise to bring all conflicting constitutional provisions to your knowledge one by one. I request you to please subscribe, share and comment on my videos, and I will be glad to reply to your worthy comments.